Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurvani Pracharine Vishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarane. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Shrunvatam Swakata Krishnaha Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Hridyantasto Bhadrani Vidhunoti Suhrit Satham Nishtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So thank you so much. Today being we are at the end of Srimad Bhagavatam. We are going to read today, only today and tomorrow. That's all. We are coming to an end of this. So we are going to start reading from Canto 12, Chapter 1, Verse 1. So Canto 12 is called The Age of Deterioration. Chapter 1, The Degraded Dynasties of Kali Yuga, and text 1 and 2. Shukadeva Goswami said, the last king mentioned in our previous enumeration of the future rulers of Magadha dynasty was Puranjaya, who will take birth as the descendant of Brihadratha. Puranjaya's minister Shunaka will assassinate the king and install his own son Pradyota on the throne. The son of Pradyota will be Palaka, his son will be Vishakayupa, and his son will be Rajaka. Text 3. The son of Rajaka will be Nandivardhana, and thus in the Pradyotana dynasty, there will be 5 kings who will enjoy the earth for 138 years. Text 4. Nandivardhana will have a son named Sisunaga, Shishunaga, and his son will be known as Kakavarna. The son of Kakavarna will be Kshemadharma, and the son of Kshemadharma will be Kshetrajna. Text 5. The son of Kshetrajna will be Vidhisara, and his son will be Ajatashatru. Ajatashatru will have a son named Darbhaka, and his son will be Ajaya. Text 6 and 8. Ajaya will father a second Nandi Vardhana, whose son will be Mahanandi. O best of the Gurus, these 10 kings of Shishunaga dynasty will rule the earth for a total of 360 years during the age of Kali. My dear Parikshit, King Mahanandi will father a very powerful son in the womb of Shudra woman. He will be known as Nanda and will be the master of millions of soldiers and fabulous wealth. He will wreak havoc among the Kshatriyas, and from that time onward, virtually all kings will be irreligious Shudras. Text 9. That lord of Mahapadma, King Nanda, will rule over the entire earth just like the second Parashurama, and no one will challenge his authority. 10. He will have 8 sons headed by Sumalya, who will control the earth as powerful kings for 100 years. 11. A certain Brahmana, Chanakya, will betray the trust of King Nanda, and his 8 sons will destroy their dynasty. In their absence, the Mauryas will rule the world as the age of Kali continues. Text 12. This Brahmana will enthrone Chandragupta, whose son will be named Varisara. The son of the Varisara will be Ashokavardhana. Text 13. Ashokavardhana will be followed by Suyasha, whose son will be Sangata. His son will be Shalishuka, And Shalishuka's son will be Soma Sharma. And Soma Sharma's son will be Shatadhanva. His son will be known as Brihadrata. Text 14. The best of Kurus, these 10 Maurya kings will rule the earth for 137 years of the Kali Yuga, 15 through 17. My dear King Parikshit, Agnimitra will follow as king, and then Sujyeshta. Sujyeshta will be followed by Vasumitra, Bhadraka, and son of Bhadraka, Pulinda. Then the son of Pulinda named Ghosha will rule, followed by Vajramitra, Bhagavata, and Devabhuti. In this way, O most eminent of the Kuru heroes, 10 Shunga kings will rule over the earth for more than 100 years. Then the earth will come under the subjugation of kings of the Kanva dynasty, who will manifest very few good qualities. Vasudeva, an intelligent minister coming from the Kanva family, will kill the last of Sungar kings, a lusty debauchee named Devabhuti, and assume rulership himself. The son of Vasudeva will be Bhumitra, and his son will be Narayana. These kings of Kanva dynasty will rule the earth for 345 more years of the Kali Yuga. 20. The last of the Kanvas, Susharma, will be murdered by his own servant Bali, a low-class Shudra of the Andhra race. This most degraded Maharaja Bali will have control over the earth for some time. Text 21 through 26. The brother of Bali, named Krishna, will become the next ruler of earth. His son will be Shantakarna, and his son will be Paurnamasa. The son of Paurnamasa will be Lambodara, who will father Maharaja Chibilaka. From Chibilaka will come Meghaswati, whose son will be Atamana. The son of Atamana will be Anishtakarma. His son will be Haleya, and his son will be Talaka. The son of Talaka will be Purisha Bhiru. And following him, Sunandana will become king. Sunandana will be followed by Chakora and the 8 Bahus, among whom Shivaswati will be great subduer of enemies. The son of Shivaswati will be Gomati. His son will be Puriman, whose son will be Medashira. His son will be Shivaskanda, and his son will be Yajnashri. The son of Yajnashri will be Vijaya, who will have 2 sons, Chandravigna and Lomadhi. These 30 kings will enjoy sovereignty over the earth for a total of 456 years. O favorite son of the Kurus. Text 27. Then will follow 7 kings of Abhira race from the city of Avabhriti, and then 10 Gardabhis. After them, 16 kings of Kankas will rule and will be known for their excessive greed. Text 28. 8 Yavanas will then take power, followed by 14 Turushkas, 10 Gurundas, and 11 kings of the Maula dynasty. Text 29 through 31. These Abhiras, Gardabhis, and Kankas will enjoy the earth for 1099 years, and the Maulas will rule for 300 years. When all of them have died off, there will appear in the city of Kila, a dynasty of kings consisting of Bhutananda, Vangiri, Shishunandi's brother Yashodanandi, and Praviraka. These kings, Kila, will hold sway for the total of 106 years. 32 and 33. Kilas will be followed by their 13 sons, Bahlikas, and after them, King Pushpamitra, his son Durmitra, 7 Andhras, 7 Kaushalas, and also kings of Vidura and Nishada province will separately rule in different parts of the world. 34. There will then appear a king of Magadhas named Vishwapurji, who will be like another Puranjaya. He will turn all the civilized classes into low-class, uncivilized men in the same category as the Pulindas, Yadus, and Madrakas. Foolish king Vishwaspurji will maintain all the citizens in ungodliness and will use his power to completely disrupt the Kshatriya order. From
Hare
his
Krishna, Mother Vaishnavi.
Yeah.
I'm not in front of the screen, but devotees are saying that they're not able to get in. Can you ask Mother Jayashree to let people in? She's a co-host.
I did. Maybe
But
1 minute. I will make you. That's why I was waiting.
I'm not in front of the screen actually. So if she's in, maybe she's not in front. Okay, I'll just do it.
I did.
Thank you.
I don't know where I was reading now.
All right.
Foolish king Vishwapurji will maintain all the citizens in ungodliness and will use his power to completely disrupt the Kshatriya order. From his capital of Padmavati, he will rule the part of the earth extending from the source of the Ganga to Prayaga. At that, text 36, at that time, the Brahmanas of such provinces as Shaurashtra, Avanti, Abhira, Shura, Arbuda, and Malava will forget all their regulative principles, and the members of the royal order in these places will become no better than Shudras. Text 37, the land along the Sindhu river, as well as the districts of Chandrabhaga, Kaunti, and Kashmira will be ruled by Shudras, fallen Brahmanas, and meat eaters. Having given up the path of Vedic civilization, they will have lost all spiritual strength. Text 38. There will be many such uncivilized kings ruling at the same time, O King Parikshit, and they will all be uncharitable, possessed of fierce tempers, and great devotees of irreligion and falsity. 39 and 40. These barbarians in the guise of kings will devour the citizenry, murdering innocent women, children, cows, and brahmanas, and coveting the wives and property of other men. They will be erratic in their moods, have little strength of characters, and very short-lived. Indeed, not purified by any Vedic rituals and lacking in the practice of regulative principles, they will be completely covered by the modes of passion and ignorance. The citizens governed by these low-class kings will imitate the character, behavior, and speech of their rulers. Harassed by their leaders and by each other, they will all suffer ruination. So this is the end of first chapter in 12th canto. We have few people here, few devotees here. All glories to assembled devotees who would like to read. Because I cannot do both chat and read at the same time.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, go ahead. Go do this. Yes, can you please keep your camera on?
I'm trying to open, just join.
Yes.
The symptoms of Hare Krishna. The symptoms of Kali Yuga. Text 1. Sukadeva Goswami said, then, O king, religion, truthfulness, cleanliness, tolerance, mercy, duration of life, physical strength, and memory will all diminish day by day because of the powerful influence of the age of Kali. Text 2. In Kali Yuga, wealth alone will be considered the sign of a man's good birth, power, proper behavior, and fine qualities. And law and justice will be applied only on the basis of one's power. Text 3. Men and women will live together merely because of superficial attraction, and success in business will depend on deceit. Womanliness and manliness will be judged according to one's expertise in sex, and a man will be known as a Brahmana just by his wearing a thread. Text 4. A person's spiritual position will be ascertained merely according to external symbols, and on that same basis, people will change from one spiritual order to the next. A person's propriety will be seriously questioned if he does not earn a good living, and one who is very clever at juggling words will be considered a learned scholar. Text 5. A person will be judged unholy if he does not have money, and hypocrisy will be accepted as virtue. Marriage will be arranged simply by verbal agreement, and a person will think he is fit to appear in public if he has merely taken a bath. Text 6. A sacred place will be taken to consist of no more than a reservoir of water located at a distance, and beauty will be thought to depend on one's hairstyle. Filling the belly will become the goal of life, and one who is audacious will be accepted as truthful. He who can maintain a family will be regarded as an expert man, and the principles of religion will be observed only for the sake of repetition. Text 7. As the earth does because crowded with corrupt population, whoever among any of the social classes shows himself to be the strongest will gain political power. Text 8. Losing their wives and properties to such avaricious and merciless rulers who will behave no better than ordinary thieves. The citizens will flee to the mountains and forests. Text 9. Harassed by famine and excessive taxes, people will resort to eating leaves, roots, flesh, wild honey, fruits, flowers, and seeds. Struck by drought, they will become completely ruined. Text 10. The citizens will suffer greatly from cold, wind, heat, rain, and snow. They will be further tormented by quarrels, hunger, thirst, disease, and severe anxiety. Text 11. The maximum duration of life for human beings in Kali Yuga will become 50 years. Text 12 to 6. By the time of age of Kali ends, the bodies of all creatures will be greatly reduced in size, and the religious principles of followers of Varnashrama will be ruined. The path of Vedas will be completely forgotten in human society, and so-called religion will be mostly atheistic. The kings will mostly be thieves. The occupations of men will be stealing, lying, and needless violence. And all the social classes will be reduced to the lowest level of Sudras. Cows will be like goats. Spiritual hermitages will be no different from mundane houses. And family ties will extend no further than the immediate bonds of marriage. Most plants and herbs will be tiny, and all trees will appear like a dwarf, Sami trees. Clouds will be full of lightning, homes will be devoid of piety, and all human beings will have become like asses. At that time, the Supreme Personality of Godhead will appear on the earth, acting with the power of pure spiritual goodness. He will rescue eternal religion. Text 17. Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the spiritual master of all moving and non-moving living beings, and the super soul of all, takes birth to protect the principles of religion and to relieve his saintly devotees from the reaction of material work. Text 18. Lord Kalki will appear in the home of the most eminent Brahmana of Sambhala village, the great soul Vishnuyasa. Text 19 to 20. Lord Kalki, the Lord of the universe, will mount his swift horse Devadatta, and sword in hand, travel over the earth, exhibiting his 8 mystic opulence and 8 special qualities of Godhead. Displaying his unequaled effulgence and riding with great speed, he will kill by the millions those thieves who have dared dress as king. Text 21. After all the impostors' kings have been killed, the residents of cities and towns will feel the breezes carrying the most sacred fragments of the sandalwood paste and other decorations of Lord Vasudeva, and their minds will thereby become transcendently pure. Text 22. When Lord Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appears in their hearts, in his transcendental form of goodness, the remaining citizens will abundantly repopulate the earth. Text 23. When the Supreme Lord has appeared on the earth as Kalki, the maintainer of religion, Satya Yuga will begin, and the human society will bring from progeny in the mode of goodness. Text 24. When the moon, the sun, and Brihaspati are together in the constellation of Karkataka, and all three enter simultaneously into lunar mansion Pushya at the exact moment of the age of Satya or Krita will begin. Text 25. Thus I have described all the kings, past, present, future, who belongs to dynasties of the sun and the moon. Text 26. From your birth up to the coronation of King Nanda, 1150 years will pass. Text 27-28. One of the seven stars forming the constellation of the seven sages, Pulaha and Kratu, are the first to rise in the night sky. In a line running north and south, were drawn through their midpoint, whichever of the lunar mansion this line passes through is said to be the ruling asterism of the constellation for that time. The seven sages will remain connected with that particular lunar mansion for 100 human years. Currently, during your lifetime, they are situated in nakshatra called Magha. Text 29. The Supreme Lord Vishnu is brilliant like the sun and is known as Krishna. When he returned to the spiritual sky, Kali entered this world, and people then began to take pleasure in sinful activities. Text 30. As long as Lord Sri Krishna, the husband of the goddess of fortune, touched the earth with his lotus feet, Kali was powerless and subdued this planet. Text 31. When the constellation of the seven sages is passing through the lunar mansion, Magha, the age of Kali, begins in compressive 1200 years of the demigods. Text 32. When the great sage of the Saptarishi constellation pass from Magha to Purvasada, Kali will have his fall strengthened, beginning from King Nanda and his dynasty. Text 33. Those who scientifically understand the past declare that on the very day the Lord Sri Krishna departed for the spiritual world, the influence of age of Kali began. Text 34. After the 1000 celestial years of Kali Yuga, the Satya Yuga will manifest again. At the time, the minds of the all men will become self-effulgent. Text 35. Thus I have described the royal dynasty of Manu as it is known on this earth. One can similarly study the history of the Vaishyas, Sudras, and Brahmanas living in the various ages. Text 36. These personalities who were great souls are now known only by their names. They exist only in accounts from the past, and only their fame remains on the earth. Text 37. Divapi, the brother of Maharaja Shantanu, and Maru, the descendant of Ikshvaku, both possess great mystic strength and are living even now in the village of Kalapa. Text 38. At the end of the age of Kali, these two kings, having received instructions directly from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva will return in a human society and re-establish the eternal religion of man, characterized by the divisions of Varna and Ashrama, just as it was before. Text 39. The cycle of 4 ages, Satya, Treta, Dwapara, and Kali, continues perpetually among living beings on this earth, repeating the same general sequence of events. Text 40. My dear King Parikshit, all these kings I have described, as well as all other human beings, come to this earth and stake their claims, but ultimately they all must give up this world and meet their destruction. Text 41. Even though a person's body may now have the designation king in the end of its name will be worms, stools, or ashes. What can a person who injures other living beings for the sake of this body know about his own self-interest, since his activities are simply leading him to hell? Text 42. The materialistic king thinks, this unbounded earth was held by my preceders and is now under my sovereignty. How can I arrange for it to remain in the hands of my son, grandsons, and other descendants? Text 43. Although the foolish accept the body made of earth, water, and fire as me, and this earth as mine, in every case they have ultimately abandoned both their body and the earth and passed away into oblivion. Text 44. My dear King Parikshit, all these kings who tried to enjoy the earth by their strength were reduced by the force of time to nothing more than historical accounts.
Hare Krishna. Chapter 3, the Bhumi Gita. Text 1. Shukdev Goswami said, seeing the kings of this earth busy trying to conquer her, the earth herself laughed. She said, just see how these kings who are actually playthings in the hands of death are desiring to conquer me. Text 2. Great rulers of men, even those who are learned, meet frustration and failure because of material lust. Driven by lust, these kings place great hope and faith in the dead lump of flesh called the body, even though the material frame is as fleeting as bubbles of foam on water. 3 and 4. Kings and politicians imagine, first I will conquer my senses and mind, then I'll subdue my chief ministers and rid myself of the thorn pricks of my advisors, citizens, friends and relatives, as well as the keepers of my elephants. In this way, I'll gradually conquer the entire earth. Because the hearts of these leaders are bound by great expectations, they fail to see death waiting nearby. 5. After conquering all the land on my surface, these proud kings forcibly enter the ocean to conquer the sea itself. What's the use of their self-control, which is aimed at political exploitation? The actual goal of self-control is spiritual liberation. 6. O best of the Kurus, the earth continued as follows. Although in the past great men and their descendants have left me, departing from this world in the same helpless way they came into it, even today foolish men are trying to conquer me. 7. For the sake of conquering me, materialistic persons fight one another. Fathers oppose their sons and brothers fight one another. But because their hearts are bound to possessing political power. 8. Political leaders challenge one another. All this land is mine, it's not yours, you fool. Thus they attack one another and die. 9 to 13. Such kings as Prithu, Pururava, Gadi, Nahusha, Bharata, Kartavirya, Arjuna, Mandata, Sagara, Rama, Khatvanga, Dunduha, Raghu, Trinabindu, Yayati, Sharyati, Shantanu, Gaya, Bhagirata, Kuvalayashva, Kakuksha, Naishada, Nriga, Hiranyakashipu, Vritra, Ravana, who made the whole world lament, Namuchi, Shambara, Bhoma, Hirnaksha, and Taraka, as well as many of the demons and kings who possess great powers of control over others, were all full of knowledge, heroic, all-conquering and unconquerable. Nevertheless, O Almighty Lord, although they lived their lives intensely trying to possess me, these kings were subject to the passage of time, which reduced them all to mere historical accounts. None of them could permanently establish their rule. 14. Shukdev Goswami said, O mighty Parikshit, I have related to you the narrations of all these great kings who spread their fame throughout the world and departed. My real purpose was to teach transcendental knowledge and renunciation. Stories of king lend power and opulence to these narrations, but do not in themselves constitute the ultimate aspect of knowledge. 15. The person who desires pure devotional service to Lord Krishna should hear the narrations of Lord Uttama Shloka's glorious qualities, the constant chanting of which destroys everything inauspicious. The devotee should engage in such listening in regular daily assemblies and should also continue his hearing throughout the day. 16. King Parikshit said, My Lord, how can persons living in the age of Kali rid themselves of the cumulative contamination of this age? O great sage, please explain this to me. 17. Please explain the different ages of universal history, the spatial qualities of each age, the duration of cosmic maintenance and destruction, and the movement of time, which is a direct representation of the Supreme Soul, the personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu. For 18, Shukdev Goswami said, my dear king, in the beginning during Satya Yuga, the age of truth, religion is present with all four of its legs intact and is carefully maintained by people of that age. These four legs of powerful religion are truthfulness, mercy, austerity, and charity. 19. The people of Satya Yuga are for the most part self-satisfied, merciful, friendly to all, peaceful, sober, and tolerant. They take their pleasure from within, see all things equally, and always endeavor diligently for spiritual perfection. 20. In Treta Yuga, each leg of religion is gradually reduced by 1/4 by the influence of the four pillars of irreligion: lying, violence, dissatisfaction, and quarrel. 21. In the Treta age, people are devoted to ritual performances and severe austerities. They're not excessively violent or very lusty after sensual pleasure. Their interest lies primarily in religiosity, economic development, and regulated sense gratification, and they achieve prosperity by following the prescriptions of the three Vedas. Although in this age, society evolves into four separate classes, O king, most people are Brahmanas. 22. In Dwapar Yuga, the religious qualities of austerity, truth, mercy, and charity are reduced to 1/2 by their irreligious counterparts: dissatisfaction, untruth, violence, and enmity. 23. In the Dwapara age, people are interested in glory and are very noble. They devote themselves to the study of the Vedas, possess great opulence, support large families, and enjoy life with vigor. Of the four classes, the Kshatriyas and Brahmanas are most numerous. 24. In the age of Kali, only 1/4 of the religious principles remain. That last remnant will continuously be decreased by the ever-increasing principles of irreligion and will be finally destroyed. In the Kali age, people tend to be greedy, ill-behaved, and merciless, and they fight one another without good reason. Unfortunate and obsessed with material desires, the people of Kali Yuga are almost all Shudras and barbarians. 26. The material modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, whose permutations are observed within a person's mind, are set into motion by the power of time. 27. When the mind, intelligence, and senses are solidly fixed in the mode of goodness, that time should be understood as Satya Yuga, the age of truth. People then take pleasure in knowledge and austerity. 28. O most intelligent one, when the conditioned souls are devoted to their duties but have ulterior motives and seek personal prestige, you should understand such a situation to be the age of Treta, in which the functions of passion are prominent. 29. When greed, dissatisfaction, false pride, hypocrisy, and envy become prominent, along with attraction for selfish activities, such as the time of the age of Dwapar, dominated by the mixed modes of passion and ignorance. 30. When there is a predominance of cheating, lying, sloth, sleepiness, violence, depression, lamentation, bewilderment, fear, and poverty, that age is Kali, the age of the mode of ignorance. 31. Because of the bad qualities of the age of Kali, human beings will become short-sighted, unfortunate, gluttonous, lustful, and poverty-stricken. The women becoming unchaste will freely wander from one man to the next. 32. Cities will be dominated by thieves. The Vedas will be contaminated by speculative interpretations of atheists. Political leaders will virtually consume the citizens, and the so-called priests and intellectuals will be devotees of their bellies and genitals. 33. The brahmacharis will fail to execute their vows and become generally unclean. The householders will become beggars. The vanaprasthas will live in the villages, and sannyasis will become greedy for wealth. 34. Women will become much smaller in size, and they will eat too much, have more children than they can properly take care of, and lose all shyness. They will always speak harshly and will exhibit qualities of thievery, deceit, and unrestrained audacity. 35. Businessmen will engage in petty commerce and earn their money by cheating. Even when there is no emergency, people will consider any degraded occupation quite acceptable. 36. Servants will abandon a master who has lost his wealth, even if that master is a saintly person of exemplary character. Masters will abandon an incapacitated servant, even if that servant has been in the family for generations. Cows will be abandoned or killed when they stop giving milk. 37. In Kali Yuga, men will be wretched and controlled by women. They will reject their fathers, brothers, other relatives, and friends, and will instead associate with the sisters and brothers of their wives. Thus, their conception of friendship will be based exclusively on sexual ties. 38. Uncultured men will accept charity on behalf of the Lord and will earn livelihood by making a show of austerity and wearing a mendicant's dress. Those who know nothing about religion will mount a high seat and presume to speak on religious principles. 39 and 40. In the age of Kali, people's minds will always be agitated. They'll become emaciated by famine and taxation, my dear king, and will always be disturbed by fear of drought. They will lack adequate clothing, food, and drink, will be unable to properly rest, have sex, or bathe themselves, and will have no ornaments to decorate their bodies. In fact, people of Kali Yuga will gradually come to appear like ghostly, haunted creatures. 41. In Kali Yuga, men will develop hatred for each other, even over a few coins. Giving up all friendly relations, they'll be ready to lose their own lives and kill even their own relatives. 42. Men will no longer protect their elderly parents, their children, or their respectable wives. Thoroughly degraded, they will care only to satisfy their own bellies and genitals. 43. O king, in the age of Kali, people's intelligence will be diverted by atheism, and they'll almost never offer sacrifice to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the supreme spiritual master of the universe. Although the great personalities who control the three worlds all bow down to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, the petty and miserable human beings of this age will not do so. 44. Terrified, about to die, a man collapses on his bed. Although his voice is faltering and he's hardly conscious of what he's saying, if he utters the holy name of the Supreme Lord, he can be freed from the reaction of his furtive work and achieve supreme destination. But still people in the age of Kali will not worship the Supreme Lord. 45. In the Kali Yuga, objects, places, and even individual personalities are all polluted. The Almighty Personality of Godhead, however, can remove all such contamination from the life of one who fixes the Lord within his mind. 46. If a person hears about, glorifies, meditates upon, worships, or simply offers great respect to the Supreme Lord, who is situated within the heart, the Lord will remove from his mind the contamination accumulated during many thousands of lifetimes. 47. Just as fire applied to gold removes any discoloration caused by traces of other metals, Lord Vishnu within the heart purifies the minds of the yogis. 48. By one's engaging in the process of demigod worship, austerities, breath control, compassion, bathing in holy places, strict vows, charity, and chanting of various mantras, one's mind cannot attain the same absolute purification as that achieved when the unlimited personality of Godhead appears within one's heart. 49. Therefore, O king, endeavor with all your might to fix the Supreme Lord Keshava within your heart. Maintain this concentration upon the Lord, and at the time of death, you will certainly attain the supreme destination. 50. My dear king, the personality of Godhead is the ultimate controller. He is the supreme soul and the supreme shelter of all beings. When meditated upon by those about to die, he reveals to them their own eternal spiritual identity. 51. My dear king, although Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults, there is still one good quality about this age. Simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, one can become free from material bondage and be promoted to the transcendental kingdom. Haribol. 52. Whatever result was obtained in Satya Yuga by meditating on Vishnu, in Treta Yuga by performing sacrifices, and in Dwapar Yuga by serving the Lord's lotus feet, can be obtained in Kali Yuga simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Thus ends chapter 3 of the 12th canto. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Chapter 4. The 4 categories of annihilation. Text 1. Sukadeva Goswami said, My dear king, I have already described to you the measurements of time, beginning from the smallest fraction, measured by the movement of a single atom, up to the total lifespan of Lord Brahma. I have also discussed the measurement of the different millennia of universal history. Now hear about the time of Brahma's day and the process of annihilation. Text 2. 1000 cycles of 4 ages constitute a single day of Brahma, known as a kalpa. In that period, O king, 14 Manus come and go. Text 3. After 1 day of Brahma, annihilation occurs during his night, which is of the same duration. At that time, all the 3 planetary systems are subject to destruction. Text 4. This is called the Naimitika or occasional annihilation, during which the original creator, Lord Narayana, lies down upon the bed of Anandashesh and absorbs the entire universe within himself while Lord Brahma sleeps. Text 5. When the 2 halves of the lifetime of Lord Brahma, the most elevated created being, are complete, the 7 basic elements of creation are annihilated. Text 6. O king, upon the annihilation of the material elements, the universal egg comprising the elemental amalgamation of creation is confronted with destruction. Text 7. As annihilation approaches, O king, there will be no rain upon the earth for 100 years. Drought will lead to famine, and the starving populace will literally consume one another. The inhabitants of the earth, bewildered by the force of time, will gradually be destroyed. Text 8. The sun in its annihilating form will drink up with its terrible rays all the water of the ocean, of living bodies, and of the earth itself. But the devastating sun will not give any rain in return. Text 9. Next, the great fire of annihilation will flare up from the mouth of Lord Sankarshana. Carried by the mighty force of the wind, this fire will burn throughout the universe, scorching the lifeless cosmic shell. Text 10. Burned from all sides, from above by the blazing sun and from below by the fire of Lord Sankarshana, the universal sphere will glow like a burning ball of cow dung. Text 11. A great and terrible wind of destruction will begin to blow for more than 100 years, and the sky covered with dust will turn gray. Text 12. After that, O king, groups of multicolored clouds will gather, roaring terribly with thunder, and will pour down floods of rain for 100 years. Text 13. At that time, the shell of the universe will fill up with water, forming a single cosmic ocean. Text 14. As the entire universe is flooded, the water will rob the earth of its unique quality of fragrance, and the element earth, deprived of its distinguishing quality, will be dissolved. Text 15 to 19. The element fire then seizes the taste from the element water, which, deprived of its unique quality, taste merges into fire. Air seizes the form inherent in fire, and then fire, deprived of form, merges into air. The element ether seizes the quality of air, namely touch, and that air enters into ether. Then, O king, false ego in ignorance seizes sound, the quality of ether, after which ether merges into false ego. False ego in the mode of passion takes hold of the senses, and false ego in the mode of goodness absorbs the demigods. Then the total Mahat Tattva seizes false ego along with its various functions, and that Mahat is seized by the 3 basic modes of nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. My dear King Parikshit, these modes are further overtaken by the original unmanifest form of nature impelled by time. That unmanifest nature is not subject to the 6 kinds of transformation caused by the influence of time. Rather, it has no beginning and no end. It is the unmanifest, eternal, and infallible cause of creation. Text 20 to 21. In the unmanifest stage of material nature called Pradhan, there is no expression of words, no mind, and no manifestation of the subtle elements beginning from the Mahat, nor are there the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. There is no life air or intelligence, nor any sense of demigods. There is no definite arrangement of planetary systems, nor are there present the different stages of consciousness, sleep, wakefulness, and deep sleep. There is no ether, water, earth, air, fire, or sun. The situation is just like that of complete sleep or of voidness. Indeed, it is indescribable. Authorities in spiritual science explain, however, that since Pradhan is the original substance, it is the actual basis of material creation. Text 22. This is the annihilation called Prakritika, during which the energies belonging to the Supreme Person and his unmanifest material nature, disassembled by the force of time, are deprived of their potencies and merged together totally. Text 23. It is the absolute truth alone who manifests in the form of intelligence, the senses and the objects of sense perception, and who is their ultimate basis. Whatever has a beginning and an end is insubstantial because of being an object perceived by limited senses and because of being non-different from its own cause. Text 24. A lamp, the eye that views by the light of that lamp, and the visible form that is viewed are all basically non-different from the element fire. In the same way, intelligence, the senses, and sense perception have no existence separate from the supreme reality, although that absolute truth remains totally distinct from them. Text 25. The three states of intelligence are called waking consciousness, sleep, and deep sleep. But my dear king, the variegated experiences created for the pure living entity by these different states are nothing more than illusions. Text 26. Just as clouds in the sky come into being and are then dispersed by the amalgamation and dissolution of their constituent elements, this material universe is created and destroyed within the absolute truth by the amalgamation and dissolution of its elemental constituent parts. Text 27. My dear king, it is stated in the Vedanta Sutra that the ingredient cause that constitutes any manifested product in this universe can be perceived as a separate reality, just as the threads that make up a cloth can be perceived separately from their product. Text 28. Anything experienced in terms of general cause and specific effect must be an illusion, because such causes and effects exist only relative to each other. Indeed, whatever has a beginning and an end is unreal. Text 29. Although perceived, the transformation of even a single atom of material nature has no ultimate definition without reference to the Supreme Soul. To be accepted as factually existing, something must possess the same quality as pure spirit, eternal, unchanging existence. Text 30. There is no material duality in the absolute truth. The duality perceived by an ignorant person is like the difference between the sky contained in an empty pot and the sky outside the pot, or the difference between the reflection of the sun in water and the sun itself in the sky, or the difference between the vital air within one living body and that within another body. Text 31. According to their different purposes, men utilize gold in various ways, and gold is therefore perceived in various forms. In the same way, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is inaccessible to material senses, is described in various terms, both ordinary and Vedic, by different types of men. Text 32. Although a cloud is a product of the sun and is also made visible by the sun, it nevertheless creates darkness for the viewing eye, which is another partial expansion of the sun. Similarly, material false ego, a particular product of the absolute truth, made visible by the absolute truth, obstructs the individual soul, another partial expansion of the absolute truth, from realizing the absolute truth. Text 33. When the cloud originally produced from the sun is torn apart, the eye can see the actual form of the sun. Similarly, when the spirit soul destroys his material covering of false ego by inquiring into the transcendental science, he regains his original spiritual awareness. Text 34. My dear Parikshit, when the illusory false ego that binds the soul has been cut off with the sword of discriminating knowledge, and one has developed a realization of Lord Achyuta, the Supreme Soul, this is called the Atyantika, or ultimate annihilation of material existence. Text 35. Experts in the subtle workings of nature, O subduer of the enemy, have declared that there are continuous processes of creation and annihilation that all created beings, beginning with Brahma, constantly undergo. Text 36. All material entities undergo transformation and are constantly and swiftly eroded by the mighty currents of time. The various stages of existence that material things exhibit are the perpetual causes of their generation and annihilation. Text 37. These stages of existence, created by beginningless and endless time, the impersonal representative of the Supreme Lord, are not visible, just as the infinitesimal momentary changes of position of the planets in the sky cannot be directly seen. Text 38. In this way, the progress of time is described in terms of 4 kinds of annihilation: continuous, occasional, elemental, and final. Text 39. O best of the Kurus, I have related to you these narrations of the pastimes of Lord Narayana, the creator of this world and the ultimate reservoir of all existence, presenting them to you only in brief summary. Even Lord Brahma himself would be incapable of describing them entirely. Text 40. For a person who is suffering in the fire of countless miseries and who desires to cross the insurmountable ocean of material existence, there is no suitable boat except that of cultivating devotion to the transcendental taste for the narration of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's pastimes. Text 41. Long ago, this essential anthology of all the Puranas was spoken by the infallible Lord Naranarayan Rishi to Narada, who then repeated it to Krishna Dvaipayana Vedavyas. Text 42. My dear Maharaj Parikshit, that great personality, Srila Vyasadeva, taught me the same scripture, Srimad Bhagavatam, which is equal in stature to the 4 Vedas. Text 43. O best of the Kurus, the same Sudha Goswami, who is sitting before us, will speak this Bhagavatam to the sages assembled in the great sacrifice at Naimisharanya. This he will do when questioned by the members of the assembly, headed by Shaunaka. Thus ends chapter 4 of 12th. Thank you, Mataji.
Okay, Gaurakarna Mataji, do you want to read Jai Shri Mataji? Can you wait after Gaurakarna? She has to
Yes.
go.
Yeah, yeah,
Alright.
no problem. That's
Thank
fine.
you.
Okay. Chapter 5, Sukadeva Goswami, Final Instructions to Maharaj Parikshit. Text 1. Sukadeva Goswami said, the Srimad Bhagavatam has elaborately described in various narrations the Supreme Soul, or all that be, the personality of Godhead Hari, from whose satisfaction Brahma is born and from whose anger Rudra takes birth. Text 2. O king, give up the animalistic mentality of thinking, I'm going to die. Unlike the body, you have not taken birth. There was no time in the past when you did not exist, and you are not about to be destroyed. Text 3. You will not take birth again in the form of your sons and grandsons, like a sprout taking birth from a seed and then generated a new seed. Rather, you were entirely distinct from the material body and its paraphernalia. In the same way, the fire is distinct from its fuel. Text 4. In a dream, one can see his own head being cut off and thus understand that his actual self is standing apart from the dream experience. Similarly, while awake, one can see that his body is a product of the 5 material elements. Therefore, it is to be understood that the actual self, the soul, is distinct from the body, it observes and is unborn and immortal. Text 5. When a pot is broken, the portion of sky within the pot remains as the element sky, just as before. In the same way, when the gross and subtle bodies die, the living entity within resumes its spiritual identity. Text 6. The material bodies, qualities, and activities of the spirit soul are created by the material mind. That mind is itself created by the illusory potency of the Supreme Lord, and thus the soul assumes material existence. Text 7. A lamp functions as such only by the combination of its fuel, vessel, wick, and fire. Similarly, material life, based on the soul's identification with the body, is developed and destroyed by the workings of material goodness, passion, and ignorance, which are the constituent elements of the body. Text 8. The soul within the body is self-luminous and is separate from the visible gross body and invisible subtle body. It remains at the fixed basis of changing bodily existence, just as the material sky is the unchanging background of material transformation. Therefore, the soul is endless and without material comparison. Text 9. My dear king, by constantly meditating upon the Supreme Lord Vasudeva, and by applying clear and logical intelligence, you should carefully consider your true self and how it is situated within the material body. Text 10. The snake bird Tashaka, sent by the curse of the Brahmana, will not burn your true self. The agents of death will never burn such a master of the self as you. for you have already conquered all dangers and your path back to Godhead. Text 11 to 12. You should consider, I'm not different from the absolute truth, the supreme abode, and that absolute truth, the supreme destination, is not different from me. Thus, resigning yourself to the Supreme Lord, who is free from all material misidentifications, you will not even notice the snake bird Takshaka when he approaches with his poison-filled fangs and bites your foot. Nor will you see your dying body or the material world around you, because you will have realized yourself to be separate from them. Text 13. Beloved King Parikshit, I have narrated to you the topics you originally inquired about, the pastimes of Lord Hari, the Supreme Soul of the universe. Now, what more do you wish to hear? Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Jai Shri Mataji, you want to read the first 40 verses in chapter 6? Jai.
Yes. Sorry. Chapter 6, Maharaj Parikshit passes away. Sukadeva Goswami said, after hearing all that was narrated to him by the self-realized and equipoised Shukadeva, the son of Vyasadeva, Maharaj Parikshit humbly approached his lotus feet. Bowing his head down upon the sage's feet, the king, who had lived his entire life under the protection of Lord Vishnu, folded his hands in supplication and spoke as follows. 2. Maharaj Parikshit said, I have now achieved the purpose of my life because a great and merciful soul like you has shown such kindness to me. You have personally spoken to me this narration of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, who is without beginning or end. 3. I do not consider it at all amazing that great souls such as yourself, whose minds are always absorbed in the infallible personality of Godhead, show mercy to the foolish conditioned souls, tormented as we are by the problems of material life. Text 4. I have heard from you this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the perfect summary of all the Puranas and which perfectly describes the Supreme Lord, Uttama Shloka. Text 5. My Lord, I now have no fear of Takshaka or any other living being, or even of repeated deaths, because I have absorbed myself in that purely spiritual absolute truth, which you have revealed and which destroys all fear. Text 6. O Brahman, please give me permission to resign my speech and the functions of all my senses unto Lord Adhokshaja. Allow me to absorb my mind, purified of lusty desires, within him, and to thus give up my life. Text 7. You have revealed to me that which is most auspicious, the supreme personal feature of the Lord. I am now fixed in knowledge and self-realization, and my ignorance has been eradicated. Text 8. Sutta Goswami said, thus requested, the saintly son of Srila Vyasadeva gave his permission to King Parikshit. Then, after being worshipped by the king and all the sages present, Shukadeva departed from that place. Text 9 and 10. Maharaj Parikshit then sat down on the bank of the Ganges upon a seat made of darba grass, with the tips of its stalks facing east, and turned himself toward the north. Having attained the perfection of yoga, he experienced full self-realization and was free of material attachment and doubt. The saintly king settled his mind within his spiritual self by pure intelligence and proceeded to meditate upon the supreme absolute truth. His life air ceased to move, and he became as stationary as a tree. Text 11. O learned Brahmins, the snake bird Takshaka, who had been sent by the angry son of a Brahmin, was going toward the king to kill him when he saw Kashyapa Muni on the path. Text 12. Takshaka, flattered by Kashyapa by presenting him with valuable offerings, and thereby stopped the sage, who was expert in counteracting poison, from protecting Maharaj Parikshit. Then the snake bird, who could assume any form he wished, disguised himself as a Brahmin, approached the king and bit him. Text 13. While living beings all over the universe looked on, the body of the great self-realized saint among kings was immediately burnt to ashes by the fire of the snake's poison. Text 14. there arose a terrible cry of lamentation in all directions on the earth and in the heavens, and all the demigods, demons, human beings, and other creatures were astonished. Text 15, kettle drums sounded as the region of the demigods, and the celestial Gandharvas and Apsaras sang. The demigods showered flowers and spoke words of praise. Text 16, hearing that his father had been fatally bitten by the snake bird, Maharaj Janamejaya became extremely angry and had Brahmins perform a mighty sacrifice in which he offered all the snakes of the world into the sacrificial fire. Text 17, when Takshika saw even the most powerful serpents being burned in the blazing fire of that snake sacrifice, he was overwhelmed with fear and approached Lord Indra for shelter. Text 18, when King Janamejaya did not see Takshika entering his sacrificial fire, he said to the Brahmins, why is not Takshika, the lowest of all serpents, burning in this fire? Text 19, the Brahmins replied, O best of kings, the snake Takshika has now fallen into the fire because he is being protected by Indra, whom he has approached for shelter. Indra is holding him back from the fire. Text 20. The intelligent King Janamejaya, hearing these words, replied to the priests, then, my dear Brahmins, why not make Takshika fall into the fire along with his protector, Indra? Text 21. Hearing this, the priests then chanted this mantra for offering Takshika together with Indra as an oblation into the sacrificial fire. O Takshika, fall immediately into this fire, together with Indra and his entire host of demigods. Text 22, when Lord Indra, along with his airplane and Takshika, was suddenly thrown from his position by these insulting words of the Brahmins, he became very disturbed. Text 23, Brihaspati, the son of Angira Muni, seeing Indra falling from the sky in his airplane, along with Takshika, approached King Janamejaya and spoke to him as follows. Text 24, O king among men, it is not fitting that this king of snakes meet death at your hands, for he has drunk the nectar of the immortal demigods. Consequently, he is not subject to the ordinary symptoms of old age and death. Text 25, the life and death of an embodied soul and his destination in the next life are all caused by himself through his own activity. Therefore, O king, no other agent is actually responsible for creating one's happiness and distress. Text 26. When a conditioned soul is killed by snakes, thieves, fire, lightning, hunger, disease, or anything else, he is experiencing the reaction of his own past work. Text 27. Therefore, my dear king, please stop this sacrificial performance, which was initiated with the intent of doing harm to others. Many innocent snakes have already been burned to death. Indeed, all persons must suffer the unforeseen consequences of their past activities. Text 28. Sutta Goswami continued, advised in this manner, Maharaj Janamejaya replied, so be it. Honoring the words of the great sage, he desisted from performing the snake sacrifice and worshipped Brihaspati, the most eloquent of sages. Text 29. This is indeed the Supreme Lord Vishnu's illusory energy, which is unstoppable and difficult to perceive. Although the individual spirit souls are part and parcel of the Lord, through the influence of this illusory energy, they are bewildered by their identification with various material bodies. Text 30 and 31. But there exists a supreme reality in which the illusory energy cannot fearlessly dominate, thinking, I can control this person because he is deceitful. In that highest reality, there are no illusory argumentative philosophies. Rather, there the true students of spiritual science constantly engage in authorized spiritual investigation. In that supreme reality, there is no manifestation of the material mind, which functions in terms of alternating decision and doubt. Created material products, their subtle causes, and the goals of enjoyment attained by their utilization do not exist there. Furthermore, in that supreme reality, there is no conditioned spirit covered by false ego in the three modes of nature. That reality exudes everything limited or limiting. One who is wise should therefore stop the waves of material life and enjoy within that supreme truth. 32. Those who desire to give up all that is not essentially real move systematically. Wait, those who desire to give up all that is not essentially, all that is not essentially real, move systematically by negative discrimination of the extraneous to the supreme position of Lord Vishnu. Giving up petty materialism, they offer their love exclusively to the absolute truth within their hearts and embrace that highest truth in fixed meditation. 33. Such devotees come to understand the supreme transcendental situation of the personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, because they are no longer polluted by the concepts of I and my, which are based on body and home. 34. One should tolerate all insults and never fail to show proper respect to any person. Avoiding identification with the material body, one should not create enmity with anyone. 35. I offer my obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the invincible Lord Shri Krishna. Simply by meditating upon his lotus feet, I have been able to study and appreciate this great literature. 36. Shaunaka Rishi said, O gentle Sutta, please narrate to us how Paila and the other greatly intelligent disciples of Srila Vyasadeva, who are known as the standard authorities of Vedic wisdom, spoke and edited the Vedas. 37. Sutta Goswami said, O Brahman, first the subtle vibration of transcendental sound appeared from the sky of the heart of the most elevated Lord Brahma, whose mind was perfectly fixed in spiritual realization. One can perceive this subtle vibration when one stops all external hearing. 38. By worship of this subtle form of the Vedas, O Brahman, mystic sages cleanse their hearts of all contamination caused by impurity of substance, activity, and doer, and thus they attain freedom from repeated birth and death. 39. From that transcendental subtle vibration arose the Omkar, composed of 3 sounds. The Omkar has seen potencies and manifests automatically within a purified heart. It is the representation of the absolute truth in all 3 of his phases: the Supreme Personality, the Supreme Soul, and the Supreme Impersonal Truth. Next is 40 to 41. This Omkar, ultimately non-material and imperceptible, is heard by the Supersoul without his possessing material ears or any other material senses. The entire expanse of the Vedic sound is elaborated from Omkar, which appears from the soul within the sky of the heart. It is the direct designation of the self-originating absolute truth, the Supersoul, and is the secret essence and eternal seed of all Vedic hymns. That's all you told me to read.
Okay, that's okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Rohini Nanda Prabhu.
Thank you, Mataji. Yeah, text 42. Omkara exhibited the 3 original sounds of the alphabet, A, U, and These 3, O most eminent descendant of Bhrigu, sustain all the different threefold aspects of material existence, including the 3 modes of nature. The names of the Rig, Yajur, and Sama Vedas, the goals known as the Bhur, Bhuvar, and Swar planetary systems, and the 3 functional platforms called waking consciousness, sleep, and deep sleep. 43. From that Omkara, Lord Brahma created all the sounds of the alphabet, the vowels, consonants, semi-vowels, sibilants, and others, distinguished by such features as long and short measure. Text 44. All-powerful Brahma made use of this collection of sounds to produce from his 4 faces the 4 Vedas, which appeared together with the sacred Omkara and the 7 Vyahriti invocations. His intention was to propagate the process of Vedic sacrifice according to the different functions performed by the priests of each of the 4 Vedas. Text 45. Brahma taught these Vedas to his sons, who were great sages among the Brahmanas and experts in the art of Vedic recitation. They in turn took the role of Acharyas and imparted the Vedas to their own sons. Text 46. In this way, throughout the cycles of 4 ages, generation after generation of disciples, all firmly fixed in their spiritual vows, have received these Vedas by disciplic succession. At the end of each Dwapara Yuga, the Vedas are edited into separate divisions by eminent sages. Text 47. Observing that people in general were diminished in their lifespan, strength, and intelligence by the influence of time, great sages took inspiration from the personality of Godhead sitting within their hearts and systematically divided the Vedas. Text 48-49. O Brahmana, in the present age of Vaivashvata Manu, the leaders of the universe, led by Brahma and Shiva, requested the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the protector of all the worlds, to save the principles of religion. O most fortunate Shaunaka, the Almighty Lord, exhibiting a divine spark of a portion of his plenary portion, then appeared in the womb of Satyavati as the son of Parashara. In this form, called Krishna Dvaipayana Vyasa, he divided the one Veda into 4. Text 50. Srila Vyasadeva separated the mantras of the Rig, Atharva, Yajur, and Sama Vedas into 4 divisions, just as one sorts out a mixed collection of jewels into piles. Thus he composed 4 distinct Vedic literatures. Text 51. The most powerful and intelligent Vyasadeva called 4 of his disciples, O Brahmana, and entrusted to each of them one of these 4 Samhitas. Text 52-53. Srila Vyasadeva taught the first Samhita, the Rig Veda, to Paila and gave this collection the name Bahavrucha. To the sage Vaishampayana, he spoke the collection of Yajur mantras named Nigada. He taught the Sama Veda mantras, designated as the Chandoga Samhita, to Jaimini, and he spoke the Atharva Veda to his dear disciple Sumantu. Text 54-56. After dividing his Samhita into 2 parts, the wise Paila spoke it to Indra Pramiti and Bhaskala. Bhaskala further divided his collection into 4 parts, O Bhargava, and instructed them to his disciples Bodhya, Yajna, Parashara, and Agnimitra. Indra Pramiti, the self-controlled sage, taught his Samhita to the learned mystic Mandukeya, whose disciple Devamrita later passed down the divisions of Rig Veda to Saubhari and others. Text 57. The son of Mandukeya, named Shakalya, divided his own collection into 5, entrusting one subdivision each to Vatsya, Mudgala, Shalya, Gokalya, Shishira. Text 58. The sage Jatukarnya, who was a disciple of Shakalya, and after dividing the Samhita he received from Shakalya into 3 parts, he added a 4th section, a Vedic glossary. He taught one of these parts to each of his 4 disciples, Balaka, the second Paila, Jabala, and Viraja. Text 59. Bhaskali assembled the Valakilya Samhita, a collection from all the branches of the Rig Veda. This collection was received by Valayani, Bhajya, and Kashara. Text 60. Thus, these various Samhitas of the Rig Veda were maintained through disciplic succession by these saintly Brahmanas. Simply by hearing of this distribution of the Vedic hymns, one will be freed from all sins. Text 61. The disciples of Vaishampayana became authorities in the Atharva Veda. They were known as the Charakas because they executed strict vows to free their guru from his sin of killing a Brahmana. Text 62. Once Yajna, one of the disciples of Vaishampayana, said, O Master, how much benefit will be derived from the feeble endeavors of these weak disciples of yours? I will personally perform some outstanding penance. Text 63. Addressed thus, the spiritual master Vaishampayana became angry and said, Go away from here. Enough of you, O disciple who insults Brahmanas. Furthermore, you must immediately give back everything I have taught you. Text 64-65. Yajna, the son of Devarata, then vomited the mantras of the Yajur Veda and went away from there. The assembled disciples, looking greedily upon these Yajur hymns, assumed the form of partridges and picked them all up. These divisions of the Yajur Veda therefore became known as the most beautiful Taittiriya Samhita, the hymns collected by partridges, Titiraha. Text 66. My dear Brahmana Shaunaka, Yajna then decided to find out new Yajur mantras unknown to even his spiritual master. With this in mind, he offered attentive worship to the powerful Lord of the Sun. Text 67. Sri Yajna said, I offer my respectful obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appearing as the Sun. You are present as the controller of the four kinds of living entities, beginning from Brahma and extending down to the blades of grass. Just as the sky is present, both inside and outside every living being, you exist both within the hearts of all as a supersoul and externally in the form of time. Just as the sky cannot be covered by the clouds present within it, you are never covered by any false material designation. By the flow of years, which are made up of the tiny fragments of time called kshanas, lavas, and nimeshas, you alone maintain this world, drying up the waters and giving them back as rain. Text 68. O glowing one, O powerful Lord of the Sun, you are the chief of all the demigods. I meditate with careful attention on your fiery globe. Because of those who offer prayers to you 3 times daily according to the Vedic method, passed down through authorized disciplic succession, you burn away all sinful activities, all consequent suffering, and even the original seed of desire. Text 69. You are personally present as the indwelling Lord in the hearts of all moving and non-moving beings who depend completely on your shelter. Indeed, you animate their material mind, senses, and vital airs to act. Text 70. The world has been seized and swallowed by the python of darkness in its horrible mouth, and has become unconscious as if dead. But mercifully glancing upon the sleeping people of the world, you raise them up with the gift of sight. Thus you are most magnanimous. At the 3 sacred junctions of each day, you engage the pious in the path of ultimate good, inducing them to perform religious duties that situate them in their spiritual position. Text 71. Just like an earthly king, you travel about everywhere, spreading fear among the unholy, as the powerful deities of the directions offer you in their folded palms lotus flowers and other respectful presentations. Text 72. Therefore, my Lord, I am prayerfully approaching your lotus feet, which are honored by the spiritual masters of the 3 worlds, because I hope to receive from you mantras of the Yajur Veda unknown to anyone else. Text 73. Sutta Goswami said, satisfied by such glorification, the powerful sun god assumed the form of a horse and presented to the sage Yajna Yajur mantras previously unknown in human society. Text 74. From these countless hundreds of mantras of the Yajur Veda, the powerful sage compiled 15 new branches of Vedic literature. These became known as the Vajasa Neyi Samhita because they were produced from the hairs of the horse's mane, and they were accepted in disciplic succession by the followers of Kanva, Madhyandina, and other rishis. Text 75. Jaimini Rishi, the authority of the Samaveda, had a son named Sumantu, and the son of Sumantu was Sutwan. The sage Jaimini spoke to each of them a different part of the Samaveda Samhita. Text 76 to 77. Sukarma, another disciple of Jaimini, was a great scholar. He divided the mighty tree of the Samaveda into 1,000 Samhitas. Then, O Brahmana, 3 disciples of Sukarma, Hiranya Naba, the son of Kushala, Pausyanji, and Avantya, who was very advanced in spiritual realization, took charge of the Sama mantras. Text 78. The 500 disciples of Paushyanji and Avantya became known as the northern singers of the Samaveda, and in later times, some of them also became known as eastern singers. Text 79. 5 other disciples of Paushyanji named Laugakshi, Mangali, Kulya, Kushida, and Kukshi each received 100 Samhitas. Text 80. Krita, the disciple of Hiranyanaba, spoke 24 Samhitas to his own disciples, and the remaining collections were passed down by the self-realized sage Avantya. Thus ends chapter 6. Thank you, Mataji.
Mother Nanda, would you like to read? Otherwise, I'm going to read. Okay. Chapter 7, Canto 12, Chapter 7, the Puranic literatures. In this text 1, Suta Goswami said, Sumantu Rishi, the authority on the Atharva Veda, taught his Samhita to his disciple Kabanda, who in turn spoke it to Patya and Veda Darsha. Text 2, Shauklyani, Brahmabali, Modosha, Pipalayani were disciples of Veda Darsha. Hear from me also the names of the disciples of Patya. My dear Brahmana, they are Kumuda, Shunaka, and Jajali, all of whom knew the Atharva Veda very well. Text 3. Bhabru and Saindavayana, disciples of Shunaka, studied the two divisions of the spiritual master's compilation of Atharva Veda. Saindavayana's disciple Savarna, and disciples of other great sages also studied this edition of Atharva Veda. Text 4. Nakshatra Kalpa, Shanti Kalpa, Kashyapa, Angirasa, and others were also among the acharyas of Atharva Veda. Now, O sage, listen as I name the authorities on Puranic literature. Text 5. Trayaruni, Kashyapa, Savarni, Akritavarna, Vaishampayana, and Harita are the 6 masters of the Puranas. Each of them studied one of the 6 anthologies of the Puranas from my father, Romaharshana, who was a disciple of Srila Vyasadeva. I became the disciple of these 6 authorities and thoroughly learned all the presentations of Puranic wisdom. Text 7. Romaharshana, a disciple of Vedavyasa, divided the Puranas into 4 basic compilations. The sage Kashyapa and I, along with Savarni and Akritavrana, a disciple of Rama, learned these 4 divisions. Text 8. O Shaunaka, please hear with attention the characteristics of Purana which have been defined by the most eminent learned Brahmanas in accordance with Vedic literature. Text 9 and 10. O Brahmana, the authorities on the matter understand a Purana to contain 10 characteristic topics: the creator of this universe, the subsequent creation of the worlds and beings, and the maintenance of all living beings, their sustenance, the rule of various manus, the dynasties of great kings, the activities of such kings, annihilation, motivation, and the supreme shelter. Other scholars state that the great Puranas deal with these 10 topics, while lesser Puranas may deal with 5. Text 11. From the agitation of the original modes within the unmanifest material nature, the Mahat Tattva arises. From the Mahat Tattva comes the element false ego, which divides into 3 aspects. This threefold false ego further manifests as the subtle forms of perception, as the senses, and as the gross sense objects. The generation of all these is called creation. Text 12. The secondary creation which exists by the mercy of the Lord is the manifest amalgamation of the desires of the living entities. Just as the seed produces additional seeds, activities that promote material desires in the performer produce moving and non-moving life forms. Text 13. Vritti means the process of sustenance, by which the moving beings live upon the non-moving. For a human, vritti specifically means acting for one's livelihood in a manner suited to his personal nature. Such action may be carried out either in pursuit of selfish desire or in accordance with the law of God. Text 14. In each age, The infallible Lord appears in this world among the animals, human beings, sages, and demigods. By his activities in these incarnations, he protects the universe and kills the enemies of Vedic culture. Text 15. In each reign of Manu, 6 types of personalities appear as manifestations of Lord Hari. The ruling Manu, the chief of demigods, the sons of Manu, Indra, the great sages, and the partial incarnations of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 16. Dynasties are lines of kings originating with Lord Brahma and extending continuously through past, present, and future. The accounts of such dynasties, especially of the most prominent members, constitute the subject of dynastic history. Text 17. There are 4 types of cosmic annihilation: occasional, elemental, continuous, and ultimate, all of which are affected by the inherent potency of the Supreme Lord. Learned scholars have designated this topic dissolution. Text 18. Out of ignorance, the living being performs material activities and thereby becomes, in one sense, the cause of the creation, maintenance, and destruction of the universe. Some authorities call the living being the personality underlying the material creation, while others say he is the unmanifest self. Text 19. The Supreme Absolute Truth is present throughout all the stages of awareness, waking consciousness, sleep, and deep sleep, throughout all the phenomena manifested by the illusory energy, and within the functions of all living entities. And he also exists separate from all these. Thus situated in his own transcendence, he is the ultimate and unique shelter. Although a material object may assume various forms and names, its essential ingredient is always present as the basis of its existence. Similarly, both conjointly and separately, the Supreme Absolute Truth is always present with the created material body throughout its phases of existence, beginning with conception and ending with death. Text 21. Either automatically or because of one's regulated spiritual practice, one's mind may stop functioning on the material platform of waking consciousness, sleep, and deep sleep. Then one understands the Supreme Soul and withdraws all material endeavor. Text 22. Sages, expert in ancient histories, have declared that the Puranas, according to their various characteristics, can be divided into 18 major Puranas and 18 secondary Puranas, 23 and 24. The 18 major Puranas are the Brahma, Padma, Vishnu, Shiva, Linga, Garuda, Narada, Bhagavata, Agni, Skanda, Bhavishya, Brahma Vaivarta, Markandeya, Vamana, Varaha, Matsya, Kurma, and Brahmanda Puranas. Text 25. I have thoroughly described to you, O Brahmana, the expansion of the branches of the Vedas by the great sage Vyasadeva, his disciples, and the disciples of his disciples. One who listens to this narration will increase in spiritual strength. Jai. So we come to the end of today's quota, up to the 7th chapter in 12th canto. And somebody had said something in the chat. All right, so thank you so much. Anyone has anything to say? We have maybe 1 or 2 minutes.
Amazing journey.
Yeah, we are at the end of it. At the end of it. I mean, like 1 more day. Tomorrow is the last day. So please join.
I was feeling very sad. I was like, oh my goodness, the Srimad Bhagavatam is finishing.
Yeah.
And we can start again. Very good.
Yeah, we can start again.
Yes, we can start again. I agree.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, it's nice.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. And yeah, we can put in the request to Mother Mukhya to see, I'm sure she will say yes. And today is Mukha's birthday, so please let's all chant one mantra for her. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Vacha Kalpa Tarubhascha, Kripa Sindhubhyo cha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo. Namo Namaha, Namo Namaha,
Prabhupada,
Namo
Jai
Namaha.
Yogi, Haribol.
Jai, Hare Krishna.
everybody.
Good night.